Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita, Volume 1, Introduction. From childhood, Srila Prabhupada worshipped Lord Krishna, understanding him to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of all existence. And beginning at age 22, after his first meeting with his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada became more and more active in spreading the teachings of Lord Krishna. In Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita Volume 1, we see Srila Prabhupada struggling alone to publish Back to Godhead magazine, personally typing, editing, visiting the printer, and then distributing the copies on the streets of New Delhi. Working alone in Jhansi, India, Prabhupada gathered a few part-time followers to create the League of Devotees, an early attempt to enact his vision of introducing people from all nations, races, and levels of society to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada was still alone as he arrived in America in 1965, but he was filled with faith in Krishna and determined to establish Krishna consciousness in the West and thus fulfill the desire of his spiritual master and the prediction of the scriptures and previous saints. Young men and women on New York's Lower East Side joined, attracted not so much to Vedic culture as to Swamiji and his chanting of Hare Krishna. Thus, beginning from a small storefront, Srila Prabhupada introduced the Hare Krishna movement to America. We follow Srila Prabhupada to San Francisco's Haight-Ashboro during the hippie heyday of 1967 as he establishes his Krishna consciousness movement there, just as he had done in New York City. Then, in May of 67, he appeared to suffer a heart attack and retired to India to recuperate. It became even clearer that the Krishna consciousness movement, its life and its growth, depended entirely upon him. Although a few dozen sincere workers were dedicated to his service, they felt helpless and incompetent to do any missionary work or even to maintain their own spiritual vows to abstain from illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication and gambling, unless he were personally present to lead them. In December 1967, Srila Prabhupada returned to America and his young spiritual family. As Srila Prabhupada would comment several years later, his movement didn't really begin until this return to America in December 1967. His time was limited, he knew. The heart attack had proven that. Now, in whatever time was left, he had to accomplish this mission. And as his International Society for Krishna Consciousness began to grow, it gradually spread beyond its simple and sometimes humorous beginnings to become a spiritual institution considered noteworthy even among world religions. In the present volume, we follow Srila Prabhupada through the years of his greatest active participation in ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, as its sole leader. In 1968, Srila Prabhupada has approximately 50 disciples and 6 ISKCON centers. Although his followers have increased their numbers, most of them are no more than sincere neophytes. Prabhupada is personally available to each of his disciples and he continues to manage and maintain each ISKCON center. Then in July of 1970, Srila Prabhupada formed his governing body commission and begins to turn over ISKCON's management to his board of GBC secretaries. Yet we find Prabhupada still actively guiding the activities of his society, expanded by 1971 to 600 disciples and 65 centers. Although the teachings of Krishna consciousness have existed since time immemorial within India's Sanskrit Vedic literatures, and are the origin and essence of all religious expressions. Until Srila Prabhupada began his preaching, Krishna consciousness in its original purity had never been widely spread. In the most popular and basic Vedic text Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna teaches that He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that real religion, real knowledge, and real endeavor can be understood only when one dedicates his life to the loving service of Krishna. Only full surrender to the Supreme can bring one freedom from the laws of karma and the cycle of repeated birth and death. Srila Prabhupada was convinced that devotional service to Lord Krishna is life's goal, and that to engage others in devotional service is the highest welfare activity. And these convictions drove him in his traveling and preaching on behalf of his spiritual master and Krishna. Srila Prabhupada's success in spreading Krishna consciousness was due to his being directly empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chaitanya Charitamrita states, Kali Kalir Dharma Krishna Nama Sankirtana Krishna Shakti Vina Nahe Tara Pravartana. The fundamental religious system in the age of Kali is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Unless empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate the Sankirtan movement. Yet, although Srila Prabhupada was empowered, his life story is not one in which success comes neatly and automatically, everything being miraculously enacted by God. Rather, Srila Prabhupada's story is one of constant attempts on behalf of his spiritual master. Success comes, but only after great endeavor and faith. Prabhupada encountered difficulties in trying to spread love of God in a godless world. He sometimes met opposition from government, the media, and religionists, including those in India. And even within his own society, he met difficulties caused when his neophyte disciples fell to the allurement of the material world. Yet, through all difficulties, Srila Prabhupada persevered with the sublime tolerance, kindness, and unflinching determination of a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. By material standards, it is extraordinary that a person of Srila Prabhupada's age could constantly travel, confront problems and opposition, and simultaneously produce volume after volume of translated Vedic literature. But material vision cannot comprehend Srila Prabhupada's activities. He was truly a Mahatma as described by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. The Mahatmas are always working under the direction of my internal energy. In spreading Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada was far from a merely religious zealot trying to increase a sect. His writing, traveling, and preaching were done in pure devotion to Lord Krishna and were therefore transcendental. It was Krishna himself Srila Prabhupada saw who was bringing the result. Lord Chaitanya has stated, Prithvi theya cheyata nagaradi grama sarvatra prachara haibo mora nama. In every town and village, the chanting of my name will be heard. These words, directly spoken by Lord Chaitanya, are certainly true. The Lord's prediction must come to pass. Many Gaudiya Vaishnavas, however, even as recently as the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, considered the Lord's prediction problematic. The name of Lord Chaitanya in every town and village? Should this be taken allegorically? Certainly the Americans, the Europeans, the Africans, the Polynesians, the Mongolians, the uncultured Mlechas outside of India could never become Vaishnavas. Thus, Lord Chaitanya's words had seemed an enigmatic topic for speculation. Srila Prabhupada, however, was under orders from his spiritual master Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati to preach Krishna consciousness beyond India. And alone in 1965, he took the great step and left India, crossed the Atlantic and began the International Society for Krishna Consciousness in New York City. Although some of Prabhupada's godbrothers had gone to England some 30 years before, they had failed to establish anything and had even concluded that to give Krishna consciousness to the Western people was not possible. But Srila Prabhupada, fulfilling Lord Chaitanya's prediction, traveled and employed his disciples in traveling to open centers in New York City, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Boston, Montreal, Buffalo, Seattle. He also sent his disciples abroad to London and other countries, and they succeeded where Prabhupada's godbrothers had failed. As the present volume explains, Srila Prabhupada traveled not only to enlist new devotees and establish Krishna consciousness in new places around the world, but also to maintain what he had already begun. Had he not continued to travel to each temple, instructing his disciples, observing their progress, correcting their mistakes, raising the standard of their Krishna consciousness, the devotees would not have been able to continue. Repeatedly, Prabhupada had to go around the world. Srila Prabhupada, by his faith in Krishna, by his selfless dedication to the order of his spiritual master, and by the blessings of Lord Chaitanya, did what no one else could have done. As Chaitanya Charitamrita states, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahe Tara Pravartana. Only one empowered by Lord Krishna can actually spread the chanting of Hare Krishna around the world. This volume is an account of years of struggle and ultimate fulfillment in Srila Prabhupada's life, and I invite the readers to relish them. Here is the rags to riches story of one who started alone with nothing, but whose movement, writing, and personal life created an astounding and permanent impression on the world. By following Srila Prabhupada through these times, we gain an understanding of his exalted and humble life. I am unable to describe Srila Prabhupada fully. I have therefore composed an invocation, praying that I be permitted to tell the story purely from the transcendental viewpoint. Otherwise, it would be ruined and incomprehensible. When properly told, the life of the pure devotee brings the greatest joy and benefit to the hearers. Hare Krishna.